how are you implementing circular economy principles in both of those roles? And then if you could tell me a little bit about what it's like being a woman and a woman leader in both of those spaces.
Yeah, thank you so much. Yes, well, I'm going to start with the second one first.
Okay,
Since we're
yeah.
women here and we all have like really busy lives, so thank you for being here today and joining us. But I think I do have two completely different jobs. I'm also a mother and a wife, so I don't know, 4 jobs. So I really think that just time management is really what has really helped me a lot. I do a lot of time blocking where I like block out periods of time on things like that. On the other hand, I know we also have like a huge instant fashion problem, not even fast fashion anymore. So it's been interesting to see how much awareness has been coming through the pipeline. So we have an upper division class for juniors. That's a required class about the circular economy. We also have a really robust minor on campus, ethics and sustainability minor. Our freshmen, though, also take a class that I wrote that has 3 learning outcomes tied back to the circular economy. So it's really like embedded and woven into everything that I'm teaching, and hopefully what the rest of the curriculum is really starting to embrace. So I think that we really are seeing a change that hopefully will stick as these students go out to be future change makers.
Yeah, absolutely. Can you speak to a little bit about how that's playing a role in your business as well?
Yeah, so we started, like I said, it's about 17 years ago, and I'm in Brooklyn, and I just listening to customers and hearing what they want and what they're asking me about, what products we have and where they're sourced. We are supporting, it just came to be that some of the best products are really just around the corner from where we are. So we get to support so many small businesses along with ours, and I always say that to customers. I'm like literally that companies are around the corner, or I had dinner with that woman, the maker of that the other day. So we are really able to support a lot of independent businesses along the way. We've also had a refill station for laundry and dish soap and hand soap for like the last 11 years. So that business model of like the package-free store opened across the street from me. Like, really? Can you just go a couple blocks down the street? But you know, that is really a big part of who we are too. Not all of our products are sustainable by any means. I think we really try and we really search out for the best options there are, and we get better and better every year. But it's always a challenge with, I always say that I'm both environmentally sustainably oriented as well as economically sustainably oriented. We have to have both in line, but also if anyone is familiar with Park Slope, it is very, we have really the largest and longest co-op in the country, and very liberal-minded customers, so they're always pushing me to find the best products.
Thank you for sharing that. Evangeline, I would love to hear your perspective on how the future of AI avatars and models will look like in beauty and fashion advertising.
Yeah, so this one's an interesting topic, right? And when it comes to AI, I think a lot of people, they're looking at this content, you know, sometimes it can be really scary to see this content and see how it really looks like a human being. And sometimes it's actually, you know, something a computer has generated. And for better or for worse, it is something that we are going to start to see in advertising. Even if we're not seeing it right now, there are companies and brands that are using it right now, and a lot of them are using tools like Perfect, you know, to generate AI avatars and AI models. So I think it's something that we're going to continue to see in the future. I think we're also going to start seeing AI avatars that are creating UGC content on social media. We're going to start seeing AI influencers. We're going to start seeing all of this very interesting shift happen in advertising, and it is a lot because companies want to save money. You know, corporate America brands in the beauty and the fashion space, it is a lot of the time about the dollar. And if they're able to reduce that cost, then they will do it. On that standpoint, though, there is a really interesting sustainable aspect to that as well. You know, photo shoots can be costly, they can be very resource intensive, you know, and the ability for companies and brands to actually be able to use AI, you know, avatars and models can really help. It's especially great for small brands to democratize that process for brands that aren't at the enterprise level, that aren't your L'Oreals, that aren't your Estee Lauders. going to look like for the future of advertising.
Yeah, that's fascinating. I feel like we could have like a whole panel on
We
just
could.
that.
I can never stop talking about this topic and the ethics surrounding it and all the things that companies need to consider. It's
Sure.
definitely not a press and play situation, but it's something that we need to monitor, especially if anyone here is in beauty or fashion or CPG. Like, you need to keep your eye on this sort of stuff because
Yes.
you'll get left behind if you don't.
Yeah, absolutely. Shannon, we're coming to you. As you said, you're the former global brand director at RenewCell, and I would love to learn about, during your time there, how you were able to integrate sustainability principles into the branding and the marketing, specifically for cellulose. So if you could tell us a little bit about what cellulose is, which you kind of touched on, but tell us a little bit about how you incorporated sustainability within the marketing aspects.
Sure. So, I mean, RenewCell itself is like a sustainable company. Basically, they've introduced like a circular technology. So cellulose is like the molecular, I don't know what it actually is, within like all living plants. So cellulose is found in cotton, trees, most viscose and man-made cellulosic fibers are made from tree pulp. So then that's the cellulose, that's why it's called a man-made cellulosic fiber.
Yeah.
So what RenewCell was doing was extracting the cellulose from cotton textile waste and then using that as the building blocks to create then another man-made cellulosic fiber like viscose. So the company itself is what you would say is more sustainable.
Yeah.
But what I was doing is, and there's some other news about RenewCell, like it's actually just got rebought and now it's renamed as Circulose. So the branded dissolving pulp that RenewCell made was called Circulose, and the first brand that introduced that to the market was H&M. So a lot of what we were doing is working very closely with the brands on how to talk about and market viscose feed with Circulose, because the Circulose itself is made from 100% textile waste. However, once you bring it to a fiber producer, they're blending some tree pulp, wood pulp with our Circulose pulp. So it was a lot of education with the brands and even our supply chain partners on, you can say that Circulose itself is made from 100% textile waste. We found in our LCA, which is a life cycle assessment, that the pulp can be recycled up to, I think, 7 times. And so it was a lot about working with the brands, and sometimes they would bring in our legal teams to back up our statements. So that was, we're trying to, I guess, to shorten it, is make sure no one's greenwashing. Because as we know, H&M, a ton of brands have been sued for saying something is, you can't just say it's sustainable. What does that mean? It's made from recycled content. How much of it is recycled content? Okay, it's 7% of recycled content made with organic cotton. How do you prove it's organic? What's your certification? So it was a lot of, I basically consider myself a translator. So taking the information that we were doing at RenewCell, translating that in an easy way for the marketing team at the brands. So that's how I was integrating it into our partners, as we would say.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you for that.
Yeah, of course.
That's very helpful, especially just because I've been so into all of the sustainability and looking at what actually, and there is so much of that. There is so much of this is sustainable, and then you learn later that it's the tag that's sustainable.
Right, how so?
And
You can't just say that
right.
or green, and there are, supposed to be the FCC, here, FTC, Federal Trade Commission, supposed to be updating the green guides, which haven't been updated since 2012, meaning false advertising to kind of help work against that. So I don't know where that's at. I know they were supposed to update it this year, so that will then present a legality to what you are actually advertising and saying. So also in kind of terms,
yeah, I was gonna say that's also super relevant in the beauty industry as well. And we're getting a lot of stuff right now over their clean beauty section, and things are really having to be renamed at work. So it's gonna affect fashion and beauty because they're regulations.
And then in terms of career, I think that's kind of one of the topics is there's a lot more jobs coming out that if you're a marketer with a knowledge on sustainability or environmental processes, they're becoming much more prevalent. So that is something that is growing too for people to look out for.
Yeah.
I'm sure in ChatGPT and whatnot, I'm sure
Yes,
can help
you
us.
should,
I use it too.
and you should also know AI as well.
Yes.
So you never into marketing. That's what
Totally.
now.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, Lauren, we're coming back to you. So the shift towards online and omnichannel retail models has significantly has significant implications for the environmental footprint of the beauty and fashion industry. So how can technology-enabled solutions help address some of the sustainability challenges that are presented by these programs that these retail companies are coming out with?
Sure. I think that the shift towards omnichannel and online shopping, it has made things so convenient, but it's also created challenges. And I think one of the biggest things is, shopping online, there's a lot of guesswork involved. So especially in beauty, just going back to what I talked about before, you might go to a skincare website and not know what type of moisturizer or serum you need to use, just guess and purchase something. And then, when you get it home, you realize it's not right for you and return it. And that returns process is creating more waste. So having technology such as our company, Perfect, has an AI skin diagnostic where you could go to your skincare brand's website and have your skin scanned in 2 seconds and get a thorough analysis about what your skin concerns are and then what the exact product regimen is that you need. So using technologies like this, you can not only have increased purchasing confidence, but you're more likely to be, satisfied with your product when you get it home, and it really decreases the likelihood of, consumers returning products, which really helps, have the retail journey become much more, sustainable and reduce that waste created. So I think that, our brand partners are already seeing the benefits from it. I think we recently published a case study that the brand had 8% decrease in product returns after integrating virtual try-on technology and AI-powered skin diagnostic technology. So we're really seeing the brands and retailers see the benefits of this in a big way.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that that's something that gets missed in this conversation. A lot of times people aren't aware of how much goes into getting something, then having to return it, and how unsustainable that is. And I think that that totally is missed. And so I think it's really, really great that we can try to relieve in that
I just want to say, I read a statistic yesterday in Retail Dive that, and I just looked it up to confirm, it was 9.6 billion pounds of that's textile returns. So that's not beauty, but we're just used to also ordering 2 sizes and saying, I don't do that, but some people do that.
Yeah.
Or just we just don't even think anymore. Companies just take things back without even questions. And
But also when they take them back, they usually don't resell them.
Exactly.
They just go there and fill. So
Exactly.
it's too expensive to pay someone to restock it, so they toss it.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Which is something that people do not know. They don't know. They think that if I return it, it's fine, but it's essentially wasted product at that
Which
point.
also there's a white space there, which some companies are stepping into.
Yeah.
But to
Like
sell
body,
those returns.
scans to make sure things are fitting you.
So many different elements.
And then there's some brand, I think Zara instituted a fee to return something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know.
So
That's
it's
just pushback,
gotten
but it makes sense.
it's gotten so ridiculous. Yeah.
Mm.
So there's definitely some technology that needs to be stepping in to help that.
All right. And so you've been recognized for your long-term contributions to sustainability at FIT. So I would love to hear more about your initiatives that you've led or supported while you've been there, and how they have impacted, positively the environment, but also a social aspect of an impact as well within that fashion education space. So if you could tell us a little bit about those initiatives.
It's really nice of you to ask. We were asked 3 questions, and I think we were getting rid of one of them. I don't want to be boastful about myself, but I did just get a big Changemaker award.
Yes. So we need to celebrate.
So anyway, it was very cool, and it was basically using my voice through curricular activities at FIT. But I'm gonna pivot to the other question.
Okay. All right. We'll
Because
pivot.
I think for this audience, it's more meaningful, and it was about as an independent store in Brooklyn, what advice do you give to other people that might be interested in doing something similar? So
Absolutely. Go
with
for
a
it.
group full of women here that might be entrepreneurs already or thinking about it. My journey, as I said, was in the fashion retail corporate space for about 12 years in product development. And that whole time I knew I wanted to be an entrepreneur. I was writing business plans. I would tell my mom that I'm gonna quit my job and start a shop, and she's like, you can't quit your job before you have a better paying job. I mean, the hardest thing was just like getting through my family and friends who were supportive, but also like, you know, gotta be careful. Pay your bills. Yeah. So that I really just wrote a ton of business plans. So I would say really just have all your ducks in a row, have all your funding in place. I started with about $150,000 that I got through a loan through my mother's apartment. Like she eventually got in line and let me borrow some money. But I saw so many businesses around me fail within the first like 6 months. I would say even in my neighborhood in Brooklyn, there were about 6 or 7 businesses that closed down. One was a coffee shop who they were like, we realized we don't want to get up so early. I'm like, how do you So you have to really think things through. I think that some people, you know, they don't like their boss, or they're sick of their job, or they want flexible hours. And this other woman, she had a beautiful kids shop, but she would close every day from 2:30 to 4 to go pick up her kids. And I was like, oh my God, I totally get it, but like that's what everybody likes shopping with their kids. So anyway, just think things through. If you have a passion, an interest at all, I would definitely do a lot of research. People are always asking me, you can ask me, find me on LinkedIn, or people are always asking for like advice or to shadow, and I'm like, gosh, I didn't do any of that, but people are really open to it, especially women. We all want to help each other, and so I would just look for business models that you like, and there are so many cool opportunities out there. So thanks for letting me pivot.
Yeah, I love that. Okay, Evangeline, we're gonna go back to you. So, you talked a little bit about how AI could help in sustainability with fashion shoots and things like that, different types of photo shoots. So can you talk to us a little bit about that? How is AI helping in those spaces, and how is it making it more sustainable?
Yes, so a lot of my career history has been doing photo shoots. It's been being on set, creative directing, figuring out what content needs to be shot, bringing in an entire team. Now, these photo shoots, they're very fun, but they're also very labor intensive. Sometimes we're on set for 12 hours a day, which can be a lot. Everybody wants to go home. But the amount of resources that are involved for some of these photo shoots is a lot, right? Like we've got prop stylists, we've got all these other things, we've got to get a venue, we've got to get catering, everyone's got to get to the venue. So just in that in itself, it's helping with sustainability. But something that is really, really cool about AI is we can do a photo shoot somewhere where we might not have ever been able to do a photo shoot before. We don't have to send a team of 20 people to Greece, right, to do a photo shoot that's on the beach. If we have a skincare product or a shoe, we can actually use AI to integrate that into content and actually have it look really authentic. You got to be good at your prompting. I'm not saying you can't just go onto DALL-E and say, make me a photo shoot in Greece. You're probably going to get something that looks a little funky. Yeah. But if you are actually able to really hone in on that skill and get really good at it, you can create some really beautiful and amazing content. I will say I am not an advocate at all for AI like replacing creativity or for like stopping people from being able to have these amazing roles in the creative space. But look at AI as a tool. It can be a really fantastic tool to supplement the creative process. You might do a photo shoot and then be like, oh damn, I'm missing this one shot. Now we've got to go and reshoot everything all again, or we've got to go and do another shoot. With AI, we can fill in the gaps in content, which is really, really cool. We may also be able to, integrate maybe models that we wouldn't have been able to have before, integrate a brand new product rather than doing another photo shoot again. So there's a lot of really awesome ways that AI can really help sustainability in terms of, creative content and visual content, but you gotta know how to prompt, and you always gotta have a human in the loop. AI one day may very well just be able to do everything as a press and play thing, but we are not there yet. So human in the loop at all times, and you also need to be creative to use this. Like, I don't think John, who is, boarding a train at 34th Street Howard Square right now, will come up with a really cool creative idea for a Marc Jacobs Daisy perfume. He's probably not gonna be able to do that. Right. Creatives, you can really use it as a tool, and then brands and companies can really use it to help, reduce their footprint and sustainability. And if anyone wants to check out a company that is doing something along those lines, there's a fashion brand called Sheep's Ink, which are doing a lot of their content using AI. So,
I think that's a really good point though about the creativity to start.
Yes.
Or to, by the way, everyone wants to be a creative director. I love it. I'm a creative director all day long. But that's like such an important part. I think like when we hear so much about AI and what it's doing or not doing or what it could too.
Yeah. Like, I don't know if there's anyone in the audience who's a creative and is like, oh my god, I'm so scared that AI is going to take my job. Like, I don't know if there's anyone is, raise your hand. I'm curious.
I mean, I'm an actor, so that's a big deal right now.
Yeah,
It's a big deal.
I saw this
Yeah.
funny thing on Instagram yesterday. It said, "Why can't AI do the dishes?"
Oh, yeah. That's going viral right now.
Yeah. I will say, I don't want to scare anyone, but I went to an event today, and they are making an AI robot that will like literally be like, oh, you need something to eat? Like there's an apple, or you know, like they said to the AI, it was a robot, like, can you please put the dishes away? And the robot put the dishes away.
The Jetsons.
So 20 years, we may well have our own personal robot. That's a stat that I heard yesterday, and I was like, oh. So it might be coming sooner than what we think. Whether or not we want that or not, might be a nice thing to you know, make a hypothesis about.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh my goodness. Okay, so Shannon, we're gonna round things off with you. So RenewCell's innovative textile recycling technology has the potential to transform materials used in beauty and fashion. So how do you envision this type of innovation driving more sustainable production and consumption models within both the industries at large?
Yeah, I mean, in and of itself, like what the feedstock that RenewCell is using is waste. You know, it's cotton textile waste. So instead of that going to landfill, it's being used again. And like circularity, we keep saying the word sustainability, but circularity is like keeping a product, well, at its highest worth and recycling it back into that. So for example, I'm sure you guys are probably familiar with like fabric, polyester being from plastic bottles. So that's not technically circular because you're taking a plastic bottle and turning it into a fiber for a shirt, which now it can no longer go back into a plastic bottle. So it was like a first initiative, like a first wave of like recycling, circularity, and now there's technology that can take polyester fibers and turn it back into polyester fibers. So at the core of it all, it's using waste as a feedstock and keeping it at its highest point. However, so with at RenewCell, we opened the first like scaled factory in November of 2022, which could handle which could create 60,000 metric tons of pulp. So then that pulp, and if it's at, let's say 50%, that's 120,000 metric tons of fiber. But in this process, and when you go from a small pilot to a large scale factory, there's a lot of iterations. You're not making a perfect product every single time. So what we have is something called A prime and B prime products. So the A prime product is the best, it's like the highest quality, it's gonna be used in textiles. The B prime will be used for like paper packaging. So specifically, and it's not gonna be super cheap, so it's going to be used more by like the high-end beauty products to make packaging for that, using that textile waste and create packaging there. So this whole like circularity movement has been going on for a long time. RenewCell is just the first to be at scale. And if you guys don't know, we went bankrupt in February. However, we just got a new buyer on Tuesday. So we just announced a new owner on Tuesday. They renamed Circulus. So that's not dead.
Yeah.
But this industry is moving ahead. There's just a little bit of laggard.
Yeah.
And there's a price premium. Innovation comes at a price premium, but like you said, it's coming, and like everyone wants to adopt circular materials more. So there is a lot of hope and a lot of options that the pulp and the materials made from circular pulp will be able to help reduce the waste in both fashion and beauty.
Yeah, that's incredible, and I think that like hopefully this continues to like trigger for more of this across the board, and eventually it'll become more accessible to everyone.
And the more you make when you scale, price goes down. So like that's the whole point. Like getting over that hurdle of like capsule collection or pilot, and then getting up to that point where you're making thousands or millions of tons of product a year, it just reduces the cost. So that's where we're at in the industry, is kind of trying to get over that.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you so much for all of your insights. We have a couple minutes to ask questions from the audience. So if anyone has any questions for our panelists, just raise your hand and we can dive in.
Hi, I'm Vera. So I've been following RenewCell for years now, so I knew about the bankruptcy.
Yeah.
How is it transitioning as a company, like now that you guys got bought?
Yeah, so I think the first sort of learning that Renucil was a public company. It was listed on the NASDAQ North, and I think that was like the biggest thing that worked against us because we had a very small timeline. So once that factory opened in basically the beginning of 2023, they shipped the first pulp literally December 31st of 2022, so 2023. And we were projecting that we would break even, meaning we would produce and sell enough to, cover our costs for 2023. By July, we figured that's not happening, and then that triggered a Q3 earnings warning and lost all of the value in our stock. So the publicness of the company is the number one mistake. So like when we're talking to other innovators in this space or doing textile recycling, it's like choose your investors wisely. Work with investors that have a 7 to 10 year timeline, because it's introducing a new product to a market is not easy. It comes at a price premium. Brands don't want to pay a price premium. So everything is comparative, and it takes a long time to work through a very long supply chain. So the new owner is Altor, which is also a Stockholm, Swedish-based private equity firm that is really focused on ESG and green initiatives. So they have a much longer timeline. So before they would basically sell it off at a profit. We're really grateful that we have incredible partners there that really do believe and have the patience for our product to make it through the supply chain and more to market with brands. So it's a little bit of a saving grace, but we still have to work with brands. We still have to make sure there's enough demand to then restart the factory and produce more pulp, because there's enough pulp out there for at least a year and a half or so.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I was really happy to read about that, yes.
So was I. I mean, I knew about it before, but.
I think also to your point earlier, you had like some first mover advantage but disadvantage, because you have to tell the community, not just the brands, but everybody else.
Yeah, we had to be the first to learn and the first to get beaten down, but lately we've gone back up. So it's hard, but like I said, there's learnings to be taken from this, so I'm happy to share as many of those if I can.
I think as well, fashion and beauty companies just are a lot slower to innovate or to adopt technology, and like even seeing that in AI. But it's getting there. I'm excited to see.
Well, it's been working like really badly for so long. Like people don't even realize how bad it's been working. It's like
how bad it's been working.
Unsustainable model. Like,
Yeah.
Literally, cannot keep existing, but we keep working the same way.
Yeah.
Does anybody else have any other questions? Yes.
So you mentioned, my name's Ashley, and I'm a college student at Keynote, and you mentioned like networker in creative development, creative director, I'm sorry.
Yep.
What's your biggest insight to being a creative director?
It's very hard to get your foot in the door. I would say that's the first thing. So try and surround yourself with people who can help you. Like always be open to having a conversation, as Anne said before. Most of us women in this space, like if you message us and you say, hey, I want to get a coffee and learn about this, 9 times out of 10, we're happy to take 30, 45 minutes and talk to you and give you any advice that we can. The path of creative director would typically look a little bit more like you might be starting in a content role first. So you might start doing content for a brand's social media, doing kind of creative production in that role. So I would say like if that is the career path that you want to take, start in content. You can also start in copywriting, but it is a little bit harder to transition from copywriting to visual creative direction. But most companies will usually have a creative director that is a visual person and a copy person. So kind of pick your poison there on what you want to do. But you can always pivot. Like if you start doing copy and you're like, I really hate doing this, you can then kind of move into visual or vice versa. And also just like have fun building out a portfolio yourself. Find beauty in the things that you find beauty in. Build a portfolio. Post that on LinkedIn. Post that onto a website. Make yourself visible, because all it takes is one person to see your stuff and go, wow, that's really cool. I want her on my team. Like creatives want to see other creatives, basically.
Yeah, I would, as a professor, I would also say whatever class projects you can use to put in your portfolio. That's how a lot of our students get internships and jobs, is taking that class project and maybe even talking to the professor, saying, this is what I want to do. Can I do it from this angle? I have this girl that wanted to be a swimsuit designer, and all of her projects were about swimsuits. I mean, it was like a trend forecasting class. Everything was swimsuits. It was like, something that she really felt passionate about. And so you can utilize what you already have. And excellent, you're here right now with all these amazing women.
Yeah. just ask questions. Honestly, ask questions. If you're not sure about something, just ask anyway. Speak to people, put your ideas out there. Be a loud, bold voice, and you'll get places.
Yeah, absolutely. Any last minute questions from anyone in the audience? Well, if you have anything, you can approach our panelists after. We're going to be doing just some networking after this, and there's also going to be headshots available post the panel. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this panel. You guys have been incredible. Thank you so much. And I have learned so much. I hope you guys have. And we're just gonna have Christina come up and chat with you guys a little bit before we dive in.
Hey guys, I just want to say thank you so much for taking time out of your busy tech week day. I know that you're ready to network amongst each other and so that you guys can mingle and meet. I just want to say a couple of things before we start mingling and mixing. I want you to know that all of this is possible because of my interns for Beaute and Tech, which is Dylan and Alex. So Dylan and Alex, can you please come in here? So guys, our that all of this was able to put together and it was possible. So I just want to say thank you so much. We also have a community. We are taking this in real life community. We're taking it to Geneva, which is an online platform where we're bringing together the cosmetic, the retail, and the technology, communities so that people can mingle in there. But not only that, build community amongst each other. I know we didn't touch on women empowerment as much as I would have liked to because of the short amount of time that we do have. But last year we had women who really asked questions, some hard questions about she was a CTO, she got up and she asked why, what would you do? She asked the panel speakers, what would you do if a male CTO asked you, how did you get this position if you're a woman? And it's those type of questions, those type of things that women can't speak on because either we feel like we'll be judged, and also too, you can't really post it on LinkedIn, and you really just can't publish it. So a lot of it, we internalize it a lot. And it's also too, it's been society who's held us to the patriarchy to compete against each other when we should be supporting one another. So really that actual community in Geneva opens up to a safe haven so that you can go and share your story inside there so that other women can also read your story, and we can bring more awareness to those type of stories, and so that more women can see hey, this is happening and it's not okay, and we need to work with each other to make it stop. So thank you for coming.